Alrighty, here we are. Hello, everybody. Hello, Ayman. How's things? We did this before.
Things are great, man. Beautiful day here in Los Angeles. Can't complain.
I think it's always beautiful weather there, right?
It is. It
that's
is.
the selling point of LA. It's one of the biggest
Yeah.
ones. It's beautiful all year.
Yeah. There was a meme earlier this morning I saw because like it's snowing in most of America, like
Yeah.
the East Coast, and there was a meme that said we have another foot of sunshine today in Los Angeles with a meter that's showing the sun
I love it.
level.
I love it. That's great. That's excellent. It's one of those like places that's it's super beautiful, but there's like a super chaotic background to it. You know what I mean? Or maybe vice versa, where it's super chaotic with this really beautiful background. Um,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of it's buzzing. It's always buzzing with creative energy. A lot of people that come to LA are people that are dreamers. That were told you can't make money from doing that,
yeah,
and they're like, well, maybe I can. And then they came here and they started making money from whatever that was for them.
yeah. It's that's I think even being from Australia, that's what you hear. It's like if you like. We had a sort of a brief discussion, but I used to be in a band too, and if you're in a band in Australia, if you wanna do well, LA. Go to
Yeah,
America, dude. You know what I mean? Because it is that it's like a creative hub of the world where it's you're not just getting musicians, you're getting actors and artists, and it's just a pool of creativity.
yeah. And I found that the level. I mean, I'm originally from Egypt, and then I came from Egypt to Chicago, and I was playing music there, and I started acting there. Um, but there's a level of professionalism um, that because the people are here to make a living doing what they love,
Yeah,
um, and it's not just a weekend thing. It's not a weekend gig while I have my day job. Like I'm trying to make this my day job. So there's an edge to artists here, and maybe New York as well. But that edge is what makes being in LA more inspiring and more powerful for any creative person. I think, in my opinion.
yeah. The whole make or break it. It's you know what I mean. Um, it's a good boot in the ass. You know what I mean. When you got nothing else to rely on, when you put all your chips in, and
Yeah,
it's either you're gonna do it or you're gonna fall on your ass. There's no better
yeah,
motivator in the world than that, I
yeah,
think. And once again, that really forms these like just it just takes it to a different level in terms of everything. Like I said, it's you hear watch the movies that come out of there compared to anywhere else, or the actors or the musicians, or it's just a different level. Let's start from the start. We'll get back around to LA. I want to know a
mm,
little bit more about it. Yeah, the goods and the bads. Uh, Egypt.
Egypt.
What's up with Egypt? How is growing up in Egypt? I think it's
And
like what's it? I say this to everybody that we have on. It's Australia's a little bit ignorant to the world, so we only see the pretty parts of things. Like you see it on TV, and you're like, "Oh, pyramids." You know what I mean? So, what is it like growing up there?
Um, it was. I mean, Egypt is definitely an interesting country. I met a lot of Australians in Egypt actually, so that's
There you go.
a lot of your people come there all the time
Yeah.
for. So I grew up in Cairo, and just an average family, and like middle class, and yeah, and it was interesting because nobody in my family had any inclination, like artistic inclination, or musical inclination or anything like that. And I just had that desire in me to do something creative since I was a kid. And basically, in high school is when I got introduced to heavy metal. through some friends, and I just loved it, man. I was, I grew up listening to Egyptian music, and Egyptian music, it's good. I nostalgically now I love listening to it, but growing up, and when you're a teenager and you're a rebel, and all you hear is songs about love and yearning and and stuff
Yeah.
like that. I just and I was an angry teenager. I wanted something else,
That's right.
So so I was introduced to Metallica and Black Sabbath and Iron Maiden, and I was like, oh wow, there's other topics that you could talk about, and you could be really loud about it. And so that resonated with my energy at the time, and I just really loved it. And I started fantasizing about having my own band, and started writing lyrics and coming up with like logos for my dream band and all that stuff. And eventually in college is when I actually met some like-minded musicians, and we started jamming together. But there was a very small heavy metal scene, like underground. Or was like maybe a couple of places where people performed heavy metal, and it was mainly covers.
Yeah.
But then there was an opportunity that came up with a radio DJ that had a metal show, the only metal show in Egypt, and he announced that he was trying to put together a concert. And he was calling out for all the bands that are out there to call him to see if there's like potential for even making a concert. And we were one of those bands. There was 5 bands that kind of started a movement in Egypt, because that was the very first heavy metal concert ever to be made.
Yeah.
And he had some really good, like he had Pepsi sponsoring, and I think Marlboro as well.
Yeah, right.
So he had good backing. And the show was attended by about 5,000 people. Pretty much all the metalheads in Egypt showed up for that show. It was everything that I fantasized in my head, like how it would be like to play heavy metal. Was 10 times better when it happened in real life.
That's insane. That is so crazy. I remember the first show I played, it was in front of like maybe 100 people, and it was at like a battle of the bands. And it was just nerve-wracking. I remember like my parents were like, you gotta eat before you go on. And I was like, if I eat, I'm going to vomit. And I was like, there's so many people here. That's crazy. So like even building up to it, to getting to in front of 5,000 people, that's big numbers. That is big numbers. It's crazy that you sort of found metal. It's one of those, like you said, it's you don't associate like Egypt with metal music whatsoever. So it's good that it sort of reached that far. And like you said, I think it is a really, especially at the time, like a really defining way to get your message out. Those teenage angst. And just a little bit of thrash. Did you have the long hair? Did you go full metal?
I had the long hair, but then I had to join the military because it's mandatory.
Oh, right.
And so I had to shave basically my head. So the first show, when the show happened, I was still in the military. I got out, and then so I didn't have long hair. Well, the audience looked more badass than I did, and I'm like the lead singer, so I had to do something. So I actually wore like my military outfit, like my beret and my dog tag, and just to look a little different. And so that was like my stage persona from that point forward, with like the beret and
I think if you're gonna have a persona, that's a pretty kick-ass one. You know what I mean? There's a little bit of something behind it as well. You're like, I did this, I earned this. That's crazy. I just went on with skinny jeans and a fringe. that was my era of it. So you studied in Egypt, right? You Egyptologist. you became, I
Yeah,
believe. Is that correct?
yeah. I studied Egyptology in college, and
How's the transition from being in a metal band to that?
it wasn't exactly a transition, because like we were like the culturally we were conditioned, like you have to have a job, you have to have a
Yep.
college degree, and and so that was the thing that I had to do, and music was the thing that I loved to do.
Yep. Yep.
So I kind of separated them in my mind, and I was fortunate that my family was pretty understanding,
Yeah.
all things considered, because if I had a different family in Egypt or a more traditional family in Egypt, I probably wouldn't have ventured as far as I have.
Yep.
So they, even though they didn't understand what the hell I was doing, uh, they saw that I was passionate about it and they supported me, regardless. So that
That's
was definitely helpful.
yeah. That's definitely you. I think it's across the world though, especially like specific parts are a little bit more strict. But I remember after the first show, I think my parents were like, "Oh, it's one and done, right? Like you've done it. Go back to school.
Yeah.
Go get something." And I was like, "No, I'm gonna keep this going for another 10 years." And they're like, "But why?" Like, it doesn't. I think it's just one of those. I don't know. It'd be hard, I guess, if you've grown up in a go to work, go to school, go to work, get married, have kids, and then somebody's like, I'm gonna go, bash drums for a living, or I'm gonna go play this guitar, and I'm gonna grow my hair out, and then your parents are freaking out because there's the notoriety, especially with metal bands. If you watch like an '80s metal band doco, the backstage is trash. They're like throwing TVs out windows, and they're like, holy shit. Like, I can't let this happen to my kid.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, at least you had the family that pushed you, I guess.
Yeah. It's well as generally it's also the generational gap
Yeah.
always, like but I was fortunate that they didn't try to stop me.
Yeah, that's excellent. So what happens next, right? You finished studying, you're working. Was your plan always to go to America? Was it just like the thing I was saying before? Was it you heard about America and you go, things happen there? Was that always your plan?
I don't know if it was a plan, but it was as part of, like, my fantasy of becoming a rock star, and that's where rock stars come from in my mind. Like, I mean, yeah, they come from England as well, but America is where everything happens, and the arenas and all of the big tours. And because of that my first little dream happened and manifested, and I was like, okay, I can be greedy. Actually, if I can play heavy metal in Egypt out of like nothing, maybe I can go to America. And and so that was kind of the next evolution of that dream, was to take it one step further and come to America and see what happens.
Yep. And then you came here, formed a band.
I came by myself.
No, I came to America rather, not here.
Yeah, I came to Chicago, and then I pursued, like, looking for bands there, and I played with significantly with two bands. My first band was pretty much black metal. And we were called Sign of Chaos, and we put together an album together. We played mainly in Chicago. I was with that band for about, I want to say, over 3 years, 4 years, maybe. And then over time, the band started kind of dissolving, as because as bands are kind of like a relationship. It's like a marriage.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes marriage with 5 dudes and testosterone and ego and
a little van.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like dissolving, and also I I wasn't as angry as I was before.
Funny that, hey, it's
I,
you grow
I
out
was
of it.
like, yeah, life is like good, you know. I
Yeah,
like America. I'm not really that angry. I still want to play music, but I can't even write the same type of lyrics
yeah, yeah,
that I used to. So it was you know, like kind of a next stage where I met my second band, who was called the Emerald Lizards, and we were together for about pretty much till I moved to LA for about a little over 5 years, and we released an album together, and we toured mainly independently around the Midwest in around the states around Chicago,
yeah,
um, and it was a garage rock. We had like different influences. Like one of the lead guitarists had a punk rock background. He
yeah.
toured with Black Flag back in the day, and the other guitar player had a blues background, and I had heavy metal background. Me and the drummer were kind of heavy metal, so that blend was resulted in really high energy rock and roll, and it was a lot of fun to
Yeah,
create.
that's what a good mix though. It's
Mm.
just a little bit of everything there. Oh god, how was band practice with that? Was it
It was fun, man.
interesting?
It was a lot of fun because we were very collaborative because everybody had played in other bands and went through the ringer.
Yeah,
So the ego level was really not that high, and it was just all about you know, creating good music that we like. So it was a really fun. That's the part I really. I mean, I missed obviously performing live, which is, you know, the energy is
yeah,
incomparable. But I really miss the collaboration part of like putting a song together, you know, from a riff or from you know, a lyric or from something, and just like building it together. It's kind of like a cooking a recipe or something. I don't know if you've experienced that.
yeah, yeah. That's it, but that's exactly what it's like. Um, I still have friends that are in bands now, and they tour a lot, and he was actually my first guest on the podcast, and it's he's been doing it for years. I think almost like 10, probably about 15 years, and they've been like touring consistently all over for about 10 years. And it's that, I think it is that love of getting something, you know, just you're sitting in your lounge room and you think of something and you'll go grab your guitar, or, you know, my friend has like a drum pad next to his computer and he just
Mm.
puts it down. And then you put it down, and then you kind of forget about it, and then something comes up, and then you keep adding to it and adding to it and adding to it, and then you send it to your bandmates, and they add to it, and it turns out to this
Yeah,
kind of masterpiece, I guess, at the end of it. And it's a very, very, very rewarding process, but a
it
very,
is.
very stressful process at the same
It
time.
can be. It can be. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, it's just to see the evolution of the birth of one song, and you know, from like its birth to its final stage is definitely a very rewarding um, process, in my opinion.
Yeah, very much so. I couldn't agree with you more. What were the shows like over there at that time? Were you well received
In Chicago,
in Chicago, just in America at the time? When was
uh,
this, by the way? Like what kind of year are we talking?
uh, so with let's see, with Sign of Chaos, it was around 2000 to like 2003, 2004.
Yep.
And Emerald Lizards was from like 2004 till about 2009.
Yeah, right. So that's probably like sort of peak rock time. You know, that sort of, like
Yeah,
you said, that sort of heavy rock. So that would have went over well. You miss it?
yeah.
Do you miss it? Are you still doing it? Or you know,
Uh,
do you miss the shows?
I miss the shows, man. Yeah, that, you know, just the live energy and well, the energy that you get from the band and the energy that you get from the audience when they're interacting with your music. There's nothing like it, man. I feel like I, you know, sometimes I said that it was better than sex.
Yeah.
Um, Especially like when you have like a humongous crowd. That's just like there's nothing like that. That's very addictive.
Very much so. I can probably relate to that in some sense. I think
I'm
we
not
got
dissing sex, but
sex is great,
yeah,
but some sex is bad, and sometimes a
yeah,
very like a well pulled off show is fantastic. And there's you don't sleep afterwards because you got that buzz going, and it just lingers forever. And you're like, fucking, we
yeah,
killed it. And you're messaging your friends at 2 a.m. You're like, holy shit, that was the best show ever.
yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely nothing like it. Would you go back? Would you take a little bit of time off to jump back into the band stuff, or?
I would, obviously if it's like the right combination of people with the same, similar, not the same, but similar mindset or of what stage in life they are. I would definitely do it. I just, every once in a while, secretly I go and do like karaoke, just to fill that little void.
Yeah.
uh, but yeah, definitely, I would jump. I would jump in.
That's great. Dude, like, I imagine like you going to karaoke. Are you fairly recognized now? Like, you've been pretty prominent on TV and movies and such. Like, you just rock up at a karaoke bar and they're like, God, that guy looks familiar. And they're like, why would he be here at a karaoke bar just slamming down tunes? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I haven't been recognized in karaoke bars yet.
Yeah, not yet.
But
Happen.
usually,
It'll happen now.
like people are drunk and it's dark and it's like,
yeah.
it's really bad. So, people don't even think about it. But yeah, so that's why I enjoy it, to just go in like a dive bar and sing a couple of tunes.
Belt out a couple. Yeah. What got you into acting? It's such a, once again, I always say the word transition. Obviously, it's not. It's probably a bit more of a flow-on effect. I think we had when I originally messaged you, it's like taking this creativity here, which is something completely different, and then going, I'm just going to shift it to this now. Was it that you weren't so angry anymore, and you're like, I got to put this creative energy somewhere else?
I think this part of it. It was honestly, it was kind of accidental how it happened. But I think it's kind of a natural evolution or transition of a different form of creativity. But I mean, I did some acting when I was a kid, and I just loved it. It was very memorable.
Yep.
And I just, it goes with the whole like being in the spotlight, the love of, being forefront. But yeah, it was accidentally, got cast in a little short film. And I had no idea how films are made or like what's the process, or like I was like asking why are we doing many takes of the same thing? I just already said that line. Why? But I really loved the process. I was very fortunate because the director was really great, and so I because I loved it, I started just taking classes in Chicago, and Chicago is actually very a great city for theater performances and improv.
Yeah, nice.
And so I really loved that experience, and I just wanted to see to learn more about it. So it was more curiosity. And then, then I started doing like student films and independent films. And then while I was doing that, I was still in the band. That was the main thing. But then I booked a role on a Hollywood show.
Mm-hmm.
It was Patrick Swayze's last show. It was called The Beast, and I had one line in the show, and I just told Patrick Swayze to fuck off. That was my line. I was like,
what a
I was
line,
so
though,
intimidated,
and to a person as well, especially Patrick Swayze. Like, hey Pat, fuck off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it was so that experience was that was my very first like Hollywood set ever.
Yeah.
And it was completely different from anything independent or, low budget that I did before. But I loved it. And I wanted to, take it another step further. And and Los Angeles, is warm and nice, and Chicago is pretty brutally cold.
Yeah.
And the band was kind of also kind of in that like last breath stage where people were not excited anymore. And
Yeah.
so I just packed up and came to LA to see how far I can go with that acting thing.
Yeah, nice. Did you live in like so you hear stories about like people going to LA and they live in like share houses and they do it rough until they get like a big role and then they blow up. Was that your experience?
No, actually, well, I was married at the time, and so we moved together, and I actually had a corporate job.
Oh, nice.
And that allowed me to work remotely from LA. So I was making a decent amount of money for the first couple of years. So it helped support me pursuing acting, and then it got to a point where I can't be in that job, like fully
Yeah.
put all my energy in it, and the same with acting. So I decided I want to go full on acting, and resigned, and haven't looked back since.
How terrifying. Just been like, I'm gonna give up my cushy corporate job just on a
Yeah,
Hail Mary. I'm gonna give this a shot. How,
yeah,
especially like being married, and it's not one of those like you're only looking after yourself. It's like, well, I got a wife now. Like
yeah.
I got responsibilities. How'd she take it? Were you just like,
Well,
babe?
she was very encouraging, because she's also she was an art. I mean, she still is, but we're no longer together. But she's
Yeah.
an artist, so she actually was very encouraging, so that helped. And I think having done such a big move, like when you move from one country to another country,
Yeah.
I think that's like the biggest change that you can do, and the biggest risk you can take.
Yeah.
So leaving the corporate job didn't seem as huge of a risk as, like, just leaving everything that
Yeah.
and being up.
Yeah. That does make a lot of sense. So what was your first role when you got to LA? What's the process? I guess if any young and inspiring actors are watching, how'd you go about it?
So how I went about it was, first I actually, before moving to LA, I contacted managers and agents. I had a small reel, and I shared it with them, and I was in communication with a couple of them, and they're like, "Well, that's great, but when you come, we can talk."
Mhm.
So when I came, I had a couple meetings, and I signed up with a manager, and I just did what I knew. I did theater,
Yeah.
and I did like a few short films, and some independent stuff. I just like did everything. Because I mean, if advice for new actors is like the best thing you can do when you're new to LA is to build a network of artists, and to build a body of work, whether it's theater, short films, student films, whatever you can do. Because these relationships, like, a lot of the people that I worked with back then, like it was 10, 11 years ago, some of them are now directing, TV shows. Some of them went on to,
Mm.
so it's a, it's a marathon. So you're not going to get like your big shot
Yeah.
as soon as you land here. It's a slow build. Some people do. You might be lucky and you get your shot right away.
Yeah.
But it's you're in it for the long haul. So you just build blocks slowly. But the first major role that I booked was in the movie American Sniper,
Yeah.
with Clint Eastwood was the director, and Bradley Cooper was the lead. So that was my first big role, and
Did you shit your?
yeah, that would freak me out.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did you shit your pants when somebody called you and they're like,
Yeah,
"That's
yeah.
Bradley Cooper, Clint Eastwood." You're what?
Yeah, man, it was pretty scary because, well, I mean, when I went to the audition, Clint Eastwood wasn't there. He doesn't really
Yeah.
audition. He just sees the tape later.
Yeah.
So it wasn't very intimidating. And I really, I've auditioned for a lot of shows before that.
Yeah.
Um, and a lot of times you never hear back, and
Nah, yeah. Yeah.
you only hear back if you booked it. And so I remember, I think I auditioned for that role in, I want to say November or December. No, I think it was January. And then I heard back that I booked it in April.
Yeah,
I had
right.
already forgotten about it.
Yeah. Yeah. What a process.
Yeah. So when they called me to tell me that I booked a role, I couldn't do it physically, but I did cartwheels in my mind,
Yeah.
flipped,
You're
and
sitting there like,
it was just insane.
yeah, like
Yeah.
really trying to take that in. What are they like? What are the big stars like? Like if like Clint Eastwood, he's been in it for a while. I think the only like
Yeah.
notable
Clint
thing
Eastwood,
I imagine Clint Eastwood is like, what is it, Gran Torino, where he's telling kids to get off his lawn?
to get out his lawn. Yeah.
That's just him on movie sets now. He's just do this. You know, yeah, all right, Clint, I
Yeah.
got you, buddy.
Yeah. No, he's actually he's amazing, man. He was 83 at the time we were shooting, and
Nuts.
his energy was phenomenal. Like for 83, I mean, I want to be in that level of energy when I'm 83.
Yeah.
He hardly sat down. He was very active and interactive, super calming. Because I was like, my nerves were just like, through the roof, just seeing him on set. And then he immediately diffused that. He came over and shook my hands and asked my name. And since that moment, he called me by name.
That's crazy.
So I was there for a week on the set, and he's just very calm. Even though we were shooting a war movie, it was one of the quietest sets I've ever worked on. He doesn't yell action or cut. There's no yelling at all in the. He just they say they roll the camera, and he doesn't say anything until after the scene is kind of over. He goes, "Okay, stop." Very quietly, doesn't yell cut or action or any of that stuff.
That's wild.
Yeah, super generous and very minimal directions too. He's an actor, so he really knows how to communicate with actors, and he would be greeting people like background actors, stunt actors, and he'd shake hands and have a chat with them. When it came to like lunchtime or dinner time, he would stand in line with everyone else. He didn't have to.
What a legend!
Yeah,
It's just I think it's just that the exact opposite of his like on-screen persona. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Do you know he plays such a hard ass in every
most of the
movie?
people that worked with him for the past 10 years, 7 years. So he keeps the people that work with him.
What a dude, Clint Eastwood. Shout out. There you go. You've heard it here first. He's actually a dude. What's Bradley Cooper like? I'm sure you get this question a lot though. I'm sure everybody as soon as you finish, everyone's like, "Who's Bradley?"
Yeah.
But what was he
Bradley
like?
Cooper was a great guy, man. It was really fun to work with. And when I first arrived on set and they were like getting me settled, and he came over. I didn't recognize him because he had like he bulked up for the role.
Yeah, he got real
big.
big.
He had like a beard, and I think he gained like 4 pounds for that role. 40 pounds for the role. So he was like a different from The Bachelor or the what's that movie? The comedy movie.
Come on, I know what one you. It's gonna kill me now. Do you know, it's one of those ones that are like the forefront of your mind until somebody says it. Anyway, keep talking. I'll find it. I'll look it up now.
Okay. So the way he looked in that movie, it was completely different. And so I was standing by my trailer, and this big guy with a beard comes in, and he's wearing glasses and a cap, and he he was keeping his Texas accent throughout, like offset. He
Oh,
would
right. Yeah.
he would still talk with the accent, but he wasn't in character. Like some actors like stay in character.
Yeah, right.
No, he was Bradley, but just talking with the accent so that he doesn't lose it.
Yeah.
And
Oh, sorry,
yeah,
just to cut you off. The Hangover is what we're talking.
Hangover,
Like
yes,
one of the
Hangover.
biggest movies ever, and we're
Yeah,
both
yeah,
like,
yeah.
do,
So he looked nothing like that.
yeah, right. It's just he walks over and you're like, "Can you get me a coffee, mate?" And he's like,
Yeah.
"I'm Bradley Cooper," and you're like, yeah, okay, sure,
Yeah.
sure." Bradley Cooper's a little bit, a little bit thinner than you. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, man. So he came over and shook my hands, and he's like, "Hi, I'm Bradley," and I said, "Hi, I'm Ayman," and he's like, "Welcome, man. I'll see you on set." And then he left, and it was a brief interaction before, because we worked together later, extensively.
yeah,
But it was just a nice little gesture, because he was a producer on the film too, but you didn't feel it, when we were doing scenes together. He was just an actor, trying to do his best, and like we were both collaborating. It was phenomenal. He's such a stand-up guy. I would definitely love to work with him again.
yeah. He's definitely one of those actors. Like even when you watch him and all like across these movies, he just seems like a bloke. Just one of the fellas.
Yeah.
So that's what a crazy experience. I think it's like even for me, I'm stoked for you. I'm like, holy shit, what a wild ride you've had. Like it's just even just 40 minutes in, and you're like, yeah, I went from like Egypt to this to this to this, and then hanging out with these guys, and you're like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah, yeah. There was these moments for me where I was like, "What the fuck is happening right now?
Like,
Is this actually really happening?"
Shit. That's fucking hell, man. So George Lopez,
Yeah.
he looks like a fella too. He looks like I was watching the shorts of you in it, and you are fucking brilliant in it. By the way, you are so funny in it. So
Thank you.
it's a weird, I guess, mix. It's you're going from American Sniper, and who like the people who haven't seen it, it is deadly serious. Like there is no laughs in it whatsoever. You're like the whole way through, you're like, holy fuck. And especially your scene where it's like they're coming into your house and you're like, yeah, just come in. And then they're like, yeah. And then you watch you on Lopez and you're like the exact opposite. It's just fucking hilarious. What was that like?
That was a lot of fun, man. George Lopez is hilarious. He's just so funny. Like he's just naturally funny. He doesn't even have to try. I think that was probably my first like comedy role that I booked. I wasn't even sure that I was gonna book it. But it, I guess they liked what I did, and it was yeah, it was such a fun experience. And we were joking that I'm kind of like we kind of look alike. I'm kind of like his Middle Eastern brother. He's like my Latino brother, and yeah, that was so much fun, man. I really, and from that point, I really not from that point, because I did some improv in Chicago, so I always loved comedy.
Yeah,
I think comedy is actually harder than
really
drama.
Yeah,
Why is that? Drama is like, I mean, especially for like movies and TV, like you could be like a little stoic and you can stare off in the distance and people will be like, oh, he's sad. But comedy is, there's timing, and there is, you have to be like, it's kind of like musical in a way. Like there's a beat, there's a rhythm to comedy.
Yeah.
And it's like, you jam off of each other's energy and stuff. So you have to really be super present. I mean, you have to be present in general in acting, but with comedy, it's when there's chemistry, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, comedians are a different breed of human. I had a comedian on Sunday, and it's just, I think one of those things is, and this is what I said to him. I think it's one of those things. It's if you're a comedian or you're working in comedy, everyone just naturally assumes you're just like you're funny all the time and you got jokes coming out and you know what I mean? But there's literally a process to it, which like I've recently just learned about. It's not just like everything's off the cuff. Like you have to wait, you have to time it, and there's pauses, and you know what I mean? And like you said, there's it's an energy that you have to really vibe and riff with. And so it's props to you, man. Is that something you're going to pursue a little bit more of in the future, like heading down the
I
comedy
did.
route?
I did stand up comedy for like for about 3 years, and ironically, most of the comedians are actually very depressed and very dark
Yeah,
people.
yeah,
So I enjoyed it. I loved it. Right now, what I'm actually producing an animated show
yeah. So that,
that's a comedy. And so I'm writing and voicing it, and I'm co-producing it. And it's a comedy about an Egyptian immigrant family in America, and kind of like because there's a lot of funny things that happen when you're a fish out of water,
yeah,
especially from someone coming from a completely different culture like Egypt
mm,
to America, and the whole immigrant experience is just very interesting.
yeah.
Uh, so that show is comedic, and I really enjoy writing for it. I enjoy voicing for it. It's just a lot of fun. Comedy is fun. It's cheerful. While drama is great, but if you give me a choice between depressing people and making people laugh,
Making
I'll
people
choose
laugh.
making people laugh any time of the day.
Yeah, that's right. Like as you said, I'm watching the clip you got up on your Twitter now. I'm gonna post all of this if that's okay.
Of
I'll
course,
link
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. And if you need, I can actually send you like
Send them all over. I'm gonna
extra.
attach it all. But like you said, there's a dark side to comedy where it's and as I was saying to Kai on the weekend, where it's comedy really lives on that line between really trying to get a really staunch, really like serious point across, but then trying to make people laugh about it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So there's like
Yeah.
there's a every comedy comic or comedian or somebody doing something a little funny, there's always that sort of background story to it that they're trying to make light of. And
Right.
I imagine you're the like you said, that transition from being an immigrant to America, it's going to have some serious shit in there, but I guess it's like you can look at it and laugh at it and go, look, this is what it
Right.
was, and we're going to have a bit of fun with it now. So,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
when does that come out, or where is it coming out? That's
It's so far we've released 4 episodes on YouTube, and the fifth one comes this Friday actually. And it's we've been self-producing it, but we've been pitching it to streaming platforms and network television because I don't you might have not seen it yet, but the quality of the animation, it's not like your typical YouTube. This is like TV quality animation. We have an award-winning animator, is my partner on the project. He's Egyptian as well.
yep.
So we're really doing like TV quality stuff, but we didn't just want to wait and hang out until somebody hands us an opportunity. We were like, let's just put it out there and create our own luck and see what happens. So we've released 4 episodes online, and the fifth one comes this Friday.
on
And
the
that,
on the cartoon. Hollywood. I think
yeah.
I wanted to briefly touch on it. Is it once again we don't have anything like it here. You hear like a lot of good stuff, a lot of bad stuff, and I'm sorry to take the mood down a bit, but what is it like? What is it really like? Is there an avenue that you can take and you can sort of stay out of all of the shit, and then there's this looming bad part, or is it, you know, vice versa, where there's a little bit of a bad part, and if you get stuck in a rut, you get jammed there, and the rest is predominantly good?
So I think Hollywood is just like any other place. It depends on your attitude towards it.
Yeah.
Because you could be in paradise, but if you have a sour attitude, you won't really enjoy paradise. You know, like you could be bitter and angry. It doesn't matter where you are. Or you could be in a really lousy place, but your attitude is positive and jovial, and you'll make the best of it. So Hollywood itself is just a place, just like anything else.
Yeah.
And your attitude and behavior towards it is what shapes it for you. So like my experience of Hollywood is going to be completely different from someone else's experience based on their attitude towards it. My attitude towards this is just I'm excited to meet other creative people and other dreamers and to see what we can do. And I think that's where the music thing comes in. I'm always about like, oh, let's jam and see what we can create. And because that's how I kind of started it, that's kind of the world that I created. Most of the people in my realm or my network have similar attitude of collaboration and creativity. So you know, Hollywood is what you make it, just like life, you know.
Yeah, I think that's a very good way to put it. I think all those, like the horror stories of Hollywood where people go over there, I think that the amount of I think pressure they put on themselves, and once you start to put too much pressure and you lose that aspect of like enjoying the art form and stuff like that, that's when you start to make mistakes. And when you start to make mistakes, like things spiral very quickly. Then you end up in porn, and then you that's your life down the drain.
I don't think people end up in porn. I think people start in porn.
Yeah, that's a kickstart to my career, I promise.
That's a great point, though. I think it's really it's just and it's also about your expectations and how much energy you're willing to put in. You know, some people come in with that expectation that I'm going to be discovered. And I'm gonna be, and someone's gonna hand me, you know, a big check and a big role, and then if that's your expectation, you know, it might happen. There's maybe a 1% chance that it would happen.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't, then you're gonna be disappointed, and then you're gonna, you know, and there's a lot of people with broken dreams here, and you know, they end up, you know, getting addicted or whatever, however or going back to where they're from. It's your expectation and your attitude towards it. I think that that helps you be sustainable.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's across the board, to be honest. I think like the amount of bands that I've seen that they'll come to us. Yeah, nope. You know what I mean? It's, you know, I put one song out on SoundCloud. That's it. I'm ready. Let's put me on the big stage. You're like, you are not.
It had 300 downloads.
Yeah, that's right. And they're all my friends and family, and I downloaded 100 times myself. And you know what I mean? I made 100 different accounts. Yeah, it's weird people's perception and how I think it's like how much emphasis they put on like this. I think it's the fame attached to it. It's not necessarily the money. You know what I mean? And like you can get them, if you get a decent job, you can have money and you can live reasonably well. And these people are like, I want to be the next Kim K and I want to do this, and they never look in the background of it. I think they just assume that's the way people are meant to be living, and this is their ticket to it. This is going to be me. I'm going to do one ad.
I think the point you made earlier about like, you know, losing sight of the joy of it, the enjoyment, like, you know, because, you know, as a creative person, whether you're a musician or an actor or a writer, the first thing that got you into it is that it was fun and it
Yeah.
was joyful and it was something that you do to be playful.
Mm-hmm.
And then people come here and then they lose track of that part and they get consumed in the business aspect of it and the
Yeah.
competition and all of that, and then they lose track of the joy, which was the main reason they got into it. And then when that happened, there's a disconnect, you
Yeah.
know, and that there's stress and depression.
What got you into the Call of Duty game? You're a voice actor
Uh,
for. The only reason why I asked, me and my friends are obsessed. We play it all the time. A
yeah,
little,
yeah, it's a
sometimes a
fun
little,
game.
sometimes a little. Do you play it yourself?
I don't have a whole lot of. I mean, I would love to.
Don't.
But I don't.
It'll drain any free time you have. It will drain it from you. You'll have zero.
I know. Yeah, I got to be careful. I used to be like super into video games back in the day in like college. It was very competitive, but I think how I got into it is, I mean, I think part of also like the evolution of me being a singer was to kind of transform into doing voiceover.
Yeah.
And so I've been doing voiceover, you know, for years now, and because I'm bilingual, it really helps me a lot. I speak Arabic and I speak English.
Yeah.
And so with the Call of Duty, this latest one, it takes place in this Middle Eastern place. And so there's Arabic and there's English, and but it was so much fun, man. And I feel like also having that heavy metal singing background with like, you know, my vocal cords have been like trained very well, and because video games require a lot of harsh strain on there's a lot of yelling and it's like war games, and so I was kind of preparing for it over the years of heavy metal, and so it was a natural evolution of that.
So you just went in there and crushed it.
It was fun, man.
Everybody, step aside. I've got this.
Yeah, there was a lot of. There's a lot of times where like there's like screams or yelling, and so after we're done, they're like, if you want to take a break, you know, you just want some water. You want to take a break? That's fine. I'm like, no, man, let's keep going. This was fun.
Let's keep the ball rolling. Let's keep the ball rolling. Are you in a Fast and the Furious game as well?
I think that was a while back. I did that. I don't even remember. Like, this honestly was like, because I've done so many voiceover gigs that
your voice is everywhere.
It showed up on IMDb, and I'm like,
yeah, I just had a look at it now.
When did I do that one?
I don't fucking remember.
And because like I do like a lot of times what happens is that when they cast you for these projects, a lot of times it's like top secret that they don't tell you the name of the video game.
Oh, right. So you're just in there. No, like here's a script, and you're just like building it out.
They give a code name. I didn't know that was Call of Duty until it was released.
Yeah, right.
And I think Fast and Furious also had like a code name. That's why I was like, when it showed up on IMDb, I was like,
that was me.
So that was which code name was that? And a lot of times I do like multiple characters in the game, so so I lose track of what I did.
Holy shit! What a life! Do you have to go into a particular studio to do this, or do they just what's the deal? Like to do? Are they like just go here, voice it, and then?
No. I mean, for video games specifically, I mean, before COVID, I haven't done anything since then for video games. But you would go. It's a different kind of studio. It's not your typical little booth. It's usually an open space with a big screen that's displaying the game, and you have like room to move. Sometimes they want to capture your facial movements, so they have a camera on you, and they have different mics so that they can capture a lot of different angles. So they give you a little room to play physically, and usually you have a director that's standing with you, like that briefs you on, because because you're doing lines from different parts of the game and you don't really know what the game is about, or so
Yeah.
he briefs you as like, okay, well, the situation here is that you're being attacked and this is happening, and uh and the fun part is that you like for video games they have something called library, where
Yep.
they take a bunch of different effects, or they call efforts, it's called. So like, like give me you're being punched in the gut, or give me you're being punched in the face, like your reaction to that, or you're dying by burning, you're dying
Yeah.
by a bullet.
Picture it in your
So
head. Now go. You're like, what the fuck?
yeah. So
Yeah.
it's so much imagination and fun, very playful.
I think just hearing that, I think it's a very underappreciated talent. Voice actors. Like I said, I play the game and I've heard it, and it's like it's very immersive. So everything you hear, you're like, holy shit. Like,
Yeah.
I think this is such an underappreciated talent where there's actually people behind it. I think it just sort of slips in the background that there's actually people doing this. Like, there's people pretending to be punched in the gut and pretending to be burnt alive. That's nuts. That's fucking crazy. It really makes you think. I wouldn't have, honestly, if I didn't speak to you today, it would be in my background, but it'd be, I wouldn't understand the amount of effort that goes into just doing something like a voice acting,
Yeah, there's so many people involved in video games, so many.
Yeah.
For it to come to the like final stage where you actually get to play it, there's so many people involved.
Yeah,
it's a huge production.
It's a crazy business now. It's like if you look at even like 10 years ago the games then and now compared to even just Modern Warfare, the Call of Duty game.
Yeah, it's competing with
money's
movies.
Different. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's just a movie you can play now, right?
Mm-hmm. And it pushes the technology too. Like the. Every game tries to push the technology, then you have to upgrade your computer processor or whatever. It's really pushing the technology forward.
Oh yeah. So I bought a computer, and I think like 4 months later it sucked. You know what I mean? A computer term.
Yeah.
I was like, oh great, that's fine. How are you handling COVID? I ask every American guest this. Like, what's going on?
It's all things considered. It's all right. I'm right now. I'm in one of my pivoting or adaptation is that I have a voice booth now in my home, so which I'm in right now, and so I do a lot of remote, work with voiceover. I actually was able to do an acting gig towards the end of the year last year because productions are still continuing in Hollywood. There's very high standards for COVID precautions. So it was a completely different, it was a weird experience, to be honest. I'd like to shoot a show, in the context of COVID. It was a weird experience, but it was fun. I got to do what I love to do. I was in disbelief that I didn't think that I would be able to do anything during that last year, and I did, and I was very grateful that I was. A lot of things are remote now, so auditions are remote. You put yourself on tape and you send it, and voiceover mostly is remote, and that's why we were able to pull off the animation during this time because all the actors are in different places and everybody just records their lines and send them to me. And we're working with animators in Egypt actually that are animating part of the stuff. So COVID kind of pushed us to be creative in a different way. So in a way, I don't want to say it's great, but I mean, I can't wait to be able to see like a live show so soon. But it's just life. I have to adapt to changes.
It was it's a very bizarre. Like in Australia, we had it reasonably well, especially where I'm from. I'm in Canberra, so it's the capital, and we're okay. Like I went to my first live show like 3 weeks ago. I went and saw my friend's band play, and it's
Oh, that's awesome.
What a
That's
bizarre
awesome.
experience! Like it was really weird because it was obviously in our hometown. So he's from where I am, and it was in the place that we had our like a year 10 formal at,
Mm,
but it was all seated. So
mm,
it was like a rock band, and
mm.
you just had to sit there, and I loved it. I loved everything
Yeah.
about it. I was just like, I'm so happy to be out watching people. Like, I think
Right. Right.
as somebody who's done it and watched so many, it's fun watching one a band, and it's two watching people play like and enjoying their thing again. It's I think if we come away with any positivity from COVID, it's appreciate musicians, artists, you know, actors, people who have really like who they
Yeah.
fucking suffered, man. They you guys would have
Yeah.
suffered hard and trying to make really big substantial changes. I got one more question. Like one ish
Mm.
more. I want to hang on this one for a little bit. Do you get back to Egypt very often? You said you're working with people in Egypt. Is it something like you're very drawn to it and you sort of try and send it back? You know what I mean? Like you being
Yeah.
are you a figure over there now? Are you you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
you're this story that you know people talk about. He went to America and he's made it. And
Yeah.
do you try and give back?
I don't believe like I'm very well known in Egypt
Mhm.
because I haven't done any acting in Egypt, and so people know very little. I mean, I've like did a couple of interviews there on
Yep.
TV, but um and the last time I was back was about 2 years ago. My dad passed away, and
Sorry to
I
hear
went
that.
back. I try to go back at least once a year, but since with the whole pandemic and stuff, um, the one of the reasons we're using animators in Egypt. I mean, obviously, the show is a mix of Arabic and English, mostly English, but there's Arabic sprinkled there.
Yeah.
But my partner, my co-producing partner is. He's a recent immigrant, and he was huge in Egypt in the animation world, so still has a lot of contacts there. And because we are also like self-producing, we're funding this. Egypt is much more affordable
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
for us. And most of the animations are not made here, by the way. Most
Yep.
of the big animations are not done in America. They're done in South Korea or Vancouver or
There you go.
whatever is cheaper than America, because America is very expensive.
Yep.
So we went to our people,
Mm-hmm.
and they've been doing an amazing job. To be honest, I mean, I was not aware about how the animation scene in Egypt until I met my co-producer Abdullah, and I didn't know that they can produce such amazing quality. So maybe actually, once our show gets proper attention, that they'll get more work internationally from like when people see the quality that they can generate,
Yep.
that Egypt will get more animation work internationally.
Yeah, like I said, it looks fantastic. I've seen other animations on big platforms that look like a bucket of shit, and yours looks great. So, props, man. I enjoyed this. I honestly had a ton of fun. It's always good talking to musicians and artists and stuff. So, and your story's fantastic.
Thank you,
Let's.
Jess. Appreciate it.
I'm gonna plug all your stuff. So send it through.
I
Is
will.
there anything you want to leave with?
Um, well, I'm grateful for the opportunities. Thank you so much for looking me up and for chatting. It was really enjoyable. And I just I want to reiterate that and we just touched on COVID again. Like you could find something to be grateful for no matter what. And it's your attitude towards the thing. It's not the thing. It's never the thing or the place. It's
Mhm.
how you react to the thing.
That's right.
That's oh
That's it. So appreciate things, people.
yeah.
I'm a legend. I would love to do this again. Let's. I'll hit you up. I'll hit you up sometime soon. I'll plug
Awesome.
everything once I start to build my platform a little bit. I'd love to do this
Sure.
again. We'll just kick the shit. I don't know if you guys know that term, but it's just hang out and talk shit.
Absolutely.
But I love it. Thanks, legend. I'll end the stream, but I'm gonna email you. So
Okay.
I'll talk to you soon, my friend.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, Josh.
All right, see you, Ayman.
Have a great day, man.
Bye bye.
Bye.
All right, hold on. Give me a sec. I gotta fix my camera. I gotta fix it. Video capture. Okay. There's your boy. What's he doing? That was Ayman. What a legend. God, what a good dude. It was really bizarre to be able to even get to sit and chat with him. I thought he would say no, but he's what a humble man. Very, very humble. I really enjoyed that. I'm going to post all of his stuff. Go support his show. We need more different animations. We definitely need it. Go watch him. Go watch him in American Sniper. It's a powerful scene. It'll get you. Hit you right in the heartstrings. And go watch Lopez. Watch him on Lopez. Lopez he was actually fucking hilarious in it, and I loved it. Other than that, like you were saying, just be good to one another. Appreciate the things in life. Stop looking at bad things. Just don't do it. Just quit it. All right, guys. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. I got to buy me a coffee now, but I changed it to buy me a pizza. Go buy your boy a pizza. Support the stream and support the people who come on it. Thank you very much. Bye, everyone.